My name is H.A. Goodman, and I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. I'm going to explain to you exactly why the Michael Cohen went to Prague conspiracy theory is complete and utter nonsense. This has to do with the Trump-Russia myth, the ridiculous notion that Trump worked with Russia to undermine Hillary Clinton's campaign. First of all, we know that DNC, it wasn't hacked. If Russia hacked the DNC, there would be some evidence. The NSA would be certain. The FBI and CIA would be certain because they would have been able to look at the DNC servers. They were never able to look at the servers, and William Binney of the NSA, former NSA official, Ray McGovern, former CIA official. We have brilliant journalist Elizabeth Voss of Disobedient Media, Adam Carter, the forensicator. We have cyber analysts all stating that download speeds show it could never have been hacked from Romania or Russia. That's why the NSA is only moderately confident, because it was a leak, not a hack. So you start with that premise, the DNC hack, which is tied to the absurd notion that Russia knew that Bernie Sanders was being cheated, therefore hacked the DNC to let everybody know that Bernie Sanders was being cheated because they knew it would be embarrassing to Hillary Clinton. Okay, and then they also knew that the embarrassment would affect swing states, and that Trump, because of the DNC hack and the DNC Podesta and WikiLeaks Podesta and DNC emails, would win because he would then, that information would filter through to states that he needed, swing states, and win. So, in a sense, Russia targeted swing states with the hack of the DNC. Another absurd notion. Okay, the NSA is moderately confident. We have no evidence. The DNC never gave its computer service to the FBI, and they outsourced a firm called CrowdStrike. They paid a firm called CrowdStrike. Hillary Clinton paid for the Steele Dossier. She paid for the Trump-Russia dossier. Along with the DNC, we know that Sidney Blumenthal and Cody Shearer, two Clinton operatives, influenced and not only wrote their own dossier, but influenced the writing of the Steele Dossier. The Steele Dossier was compiled with sources, Russian sources, that Christopher Steele never met. Furthermore, James Clapper in 2017 told Chuck Todd that in the intelligence reports, they were assessments, they weren't certain, and there was no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. James Clapper would have known. The NSA, the CIA, the FBI would have known with certainty they were wiretapping and spying on everyone involved in Trump's campaign. Every high-level person involved, from Manafort to Gates to General Flynn, who should be pardoned. He was interviewed by Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok also interviewed Clinton. So all of this is the backdrop. Michael Cohen never went to Prague. He never went to Prague, and I'm going to go ahead and explain a couple of things. The Mueller probe is based on the fact that the only reason Mueller is working on this special counsel, or he's the special counsel, is because James Comey is said to have been working on investigating Trump-Russia collusion. When he was fired because of memos that were leaked, that were classified memos, so he gave his Columbia law professor, or professor friend, at least one classified memo. Comey should be charged under the same laws, whether it's the Espionage Act or whatever laws you want to charge whistleblowers or people who share classified intelligence or information. He should be charged under the same laws that he has targeted others who have committed the same act. He was fired because of his handling of the Clinton email investigation. The Clinton email investigation was an obvious cover-up. We know that Peter Strzok deleted 5 references to gross negligence. We also know that Peter Strzok hated Trump. Lisa Page hated Trump, and he spoke to Andrew McCabe about an insurance policy. Andrew McCabe lied under oath twice. He was fired by the Office of Professional Responsibility within the FBI. This is just backdrop to the whole Steele Dossier nonsense. BuzzFeed is suing the DNC. BuzzFeed is suing the DNC because they have zero evidence corroborating the biggest claims in the dossier. The dossier was compiled, and Russian sources were either paid or utilized to help the Clinton campaign, because the Clinton campaign and the DNC, Hillary Clinton and the DNC, paid for the dossier. But I'm just going to read you. They are trying to link Michael Cohen, Trump's lawyer, who was on the wrong end of a raid by Mueller's team, which was an illegal egregious use of power because there's something called attorney-client privilege. And he had nothing to do with the Steele Dossier, nothing to do with the Trump-Russia collusion narrative. The only thing that links him to Trump-Russia is the Steele Dossier, which is a tabloid gossip publication. It has nothing to do with the U.S. intelligence community. It was outsourced by a former by Fusion GPS, and let's not get into Fusion GPS. The company that commissioned the Steele Dossier has ties to, well, they met the Russian attorney that Trump Jr. met before and after the meeting. That's according to Fox News. And according to every publication on the planet, Bruce and Nellie Orr, Bruce Orr is an Obama DOJ official, was working, and Nellie Orr was working for Fusion GPS. So you have Obama DOJ officials, the one official, Bruce Orr, who was then demoted because he was working for Fusion GPS. Peter Strzok was, of course, kicked out of the Mueller probe because of the text messages showing he hated Trump, not just bias. And he talked about an insurance policy with Andrew McCabe, who got $700,000 from Terry McAuliffe, Democratic money man and Virginia governor. His wife received the money. All of this is actually evidence of not only extreme bias, of this giant conspiracy. A conspiracy theory is a claim that can't be backed up by evidence. People have to believe, the Democratic Party has to believe, or pundits or whatever, the Trump-Russia bot insane brainwashed cult members have to believe that Michael Cohen went to Prague. They can't corroborate the whole urine pee-pee fiasco with the prostitute in the hotel room. They can't corroborate that. But they just, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They don't like Trump's personality, so okay. Oh, he must have engaged in that. Okay, it's all a bunch of gossip and nonsense. I'll get back to and I'll read you exactly why. I'll give you the sources. But McClatchy said, "Oh my God." Finally, for my 7-minute crowd, and this is an important segment, so please share this everywhere. And definitely link Michael Cohen to this on Twitter, because he has to. This is a segment that completely debunks the whole narrative that he was in Prague. First of all, I'll read you. Bad reporting, this is 5 hours ago. Bad reporting, bad information, and bad story by the same reporter, Peter Stone of McClatchy. No matter how many times or ways they write it, I have never been to Prague. I was in LA with my son. Proven. He's already proven that he was in Los Angeles. Okay? There's no doubt about that. What they're now saying is, well, he could have been within a part of Europe that, visited Prague without a stamp on his passport. He could have, even though there's no evidence, even within his passport. But if you look at, that's the thing. The conspiracy theory on the left, the Democrats don't like conspiracy theories on the right when there are claims made without any evidence at all. On the left, when there are claims made without any evidence at all, they point to, well, the NSA is moderately confident. They point to confidence levels without any evidence. And then they make appeals to authority. And they say, well, look at these intelligence agencies. They wouldn't lie. Yeah, they would. They lie all the time. Ask a Vietnam veteran about the Gulf of Tonkin. There's a litany of lies. James Clapper committed perjury. John Brennan committed perjury. James Clapper said the NSA doesn't spy on Americans. John Brennan said the CIA never spied on the Senate. Both were under oath. We know that Andrew McCabe lied under oath. He committed perjury as well. Three of the biggest people, of the biggest actors within this whole theater facade, lied under oath, committed perjury. Brennan, James Clapper, and Andrew McCabe. Now let's not even get into James Comey. James Comey not only lied under oath, but he actually said that he couldn't interview. Check this out, the insanity of this. He couldn't interview Anthony Weiner regarding whether he saw classified intelligence from Clinton's server on his laptop, because he was going through pending criminal probes of his own. That's what he told Congress. We can go through that in a moment. But sources. Mueller has evidence Cohen was in Prague in 2016, confirming part of the dossier. None of the dossier's major claims have been confirmed. None of the major claims have been confirmed. There's nothing to do with Trump-Russia. There's no major claim having to do with Trump working with Russia to influence the election or cheat Hillary Clinton. None of the evidence has been corroborated. The reason is we know that because BuzzFeed is suing the DNC, not just for Steele Dossier evidence, but for evidence the DNC was even hacked. BuzzFeed doesn't even have evidence that the DNC was hacked. Why? Because nobody does. So BuzzFeed is suing the DNC because they're getting sued by who? Michael Cohen, and also a Russian entrepreneur and 3 Russian bankers. I believe that's the limit. I believe those are the number of people, those are the individuals suing BuzzFeed for defamation. They published something without any evidence. That's called libel. And they published a dossier that was influenced by Cody Shearer and Sidney Blumenthal. I'll get to that in a second. Sources. Mueller has evidence Cohen was in Prague in 2016. Okay, is this evidence? No. Is this hearsay or gossip? Yeah, well, it's a story where a source says that a tabloid gossip document, where even the publisher of the document, BuzzFeed, has to sue the DNC for evidence because it lacks evidence to defend itself from defamation lawsuits. A source regarding this nonsense says that Mueller has evidence, but Mueller has waited until April 14, 2018. He was sitting on the evidence for a year, or he just got the evidence. This is the type of conspiracy theory that they want you to believe. Whenever they make a grandiose claim without any evidence at all, they say, well, he probably just obtained the information that backs up the claim, which is complete nonsense. The Justice Department Special Counsel has evidence that Donald Trump's personal lawyer and confidant Michael Cohen secretly made a late summer trip to Prague during the 2016 presidential campaign, What's the next sentence or the next words? What are the next words? According to 2 sources familiar with the matter. I have a great deal of respect for McClatchy, and I'm sure the authors of this article are very respected, although Michael Cohen disagrees with one of them. So I have no issue with McClatchy at all. I actually like McClatchy. And I have no issue with the authors. But according to 2 sources familiar with the matter, these 2 sources could theoretically be Cody Shearer and Sidney Blumenthal, the same people who had their own dossier. The FBI obtained a FISA warrant based on a dossier compiled by a former MI6 agent that was purchased by the DNC. This is where we've come to as a nation. The standard of proof, the evidence needed to promote this conspiracy theory regarding Trump and Russia, if you just used the public record for Clinton and utilized the same suspicion that people have of Trump, Clinton would have been indicted a long time ago. Even before we found out about the email server, just from the pay-to-play schemes regarding the Clinton Foundation and the weapons deal scandal that David Sirota and Andrew Perez broke in the International Business Times. There's a money transfer from people who have completely opposite value systems, from Donald Trump to Saudi princes to Uranium One officials to the King of Morocco to UBS to Boeing to a Chicago commodities trader. You have all different types of people, to 85 donors giving $156 million into the Clinton Foundation and meeting Clinton. You have all different types of people just miraculously suddenly giving boatloads of money, millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. In Haiti's case, billions of dollars, $10 billion raised and suddenly lost, unaccounted for, into the Clinton Foundation. Then you can prove there was some kind of beneficial transaction or beneficial consequence or something happened that benefited the donor in some way. There's a litany of evidence regarding that. But there's zero suspicion from the Democratic Party. You have the evidence. You lack suspicion with the Democratic Party regarding that. Then you have, of course, the cover-up with Clinton emails. And the 33,000 deleted emails regarding yoga. We can go through all the lies that Clinton told. The difference between Trump's lie about crowd size and Clinton's lie about using a server for convenience is that Clinton harmed national security. That's a national security issue. The whole planet hacked her server. So, and we can go, there's a Politico article. I mean, if you want to get into it again, we'll always bring this up. On March 18, 2009, Hillary Clinton stopped using her long-standing email, March 18th, HR15 at attblackberry.net. She was using an AT&T email account her first 3 months in office. She was sworn in as Secretary of State in January. Then she used hrod17 at clintonemail.com. This is below in the description section. This is Politico. This is not a right-wing publication. Her first 3 months of hrod17, according to Vanafi, and I explained this about her top secret emails and about her deleted emails on Amazon. Book 5 is on its way. They're still doing well on Amazon. Check them out. They're below in the description section and the pinned comment. Her first 3 months using hrod17 at Clinton email was unencrypted. She eventually had 2,000 plus classified emails during her tenure, 22 top secret emails, and special access program intelligence. She had 110 email chains born classified. How they were transferred from Cybernet, JWIX, and SCIFs or other locations within the U.S. government onto her server is not only Espionage Act indictments, but it's a grandiose crime linked to tremendous national security concerns. The whole planet hacked her server, not the DNC. You think they cared about the DNC emails and Bernie being cheated? Or the Democratic Party using Bernie's Jewish faith against him, trying to say, well, he's an atheist. Nothing wrong with being an atheist. But they were trying to paint him as an atheist. They were conspiring against him, even though it was fair and neutral, which is why Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign. But getting back to this. Okay, so sources, he has denied... Michael Cohen has consistently denied categorically, and he's suing the DNC. I mean, so he's suing BuzzFeed, and BuzzFeed in turn is suing the DNC because they lack the evidence. Now you have McClatchy article saying, well, you know what, sources say this. Okay, that is not evidence of anything. That could be good journalism. Very likely, not because of the journalist or the publication, very likely part of the narrative that Michael Cohen just had to have been in Prague because he's the missing link. Here's a little news flash. Even if they prove that he went to Prague, that's still not the missing link. They would also have to prove that he met with the Russian operatives. But anyway, he never went to Prague. Why? You have to, first of all, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, James Clapper, the ODNI report, compiled the ODNI report. The DHS report also compiled information about Trump's campaign. 2 intelligence reports based on confidence levels and assessment and levels of judgment. These reports were based on surveillance, not just of people around Trump, but the incidental communication. When Trump spoke to Michael Flynn or Manafort or Rick Gates via email or telephone, he was caught within that incidental communication. That's basic logic. Incidental surveillance. That's basic logic. When you spy on somebody, and when you spy on somebody's boyfriend or girlfriend, and they're always talking to that person, you're going to get the 2 people talking, not just the person you're spying on. They found no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. The Steele Dossier, again, not only was purchased by the DNC and Hillary Clinton, which is it's an egregious violation of campaign election laws, or federal election laws. So they're talking about, the whole thing is with Stormy Daniels, which I'll get to in a second with Michael Cohen, is that, oh, well, he paid $130,000 to Stormy Daniels. That's against the FEC. That's an FEC violation. What about the $9 million to Perkins Coie funneled through a law firm to pay Fusion GPS and Orbis, which is Christopher Steele's company and Glenn Simpson's company? You're talking about $9 million. However many millions from the $9 million that was funneled through for legal services, the Federal Election Commission wasn't notified. Then you have an illegal raid of Michael Cohen's office based almost certainly on the Steele Dossier, when the Steele Dossier has already been debunked. You talk about when the uranium sale issue is quote-unquote debunked by Snopes or fact check. They're only debunking Hillary Clinton having the authority to sell the uranium. Of course she couldn't sell the uranium on her own. But we have William D. Campbell, an FBI informant who testified before Congress to 3 committees, saying that he was an FBI informant for 6 years, and he heard and he saw with his own eyes and ears Russians bragging about their influence over the Clinton campaign and the Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation and Obama's administration. Yellow Cake uranium was shipped out of the country while Robert Mueller was FBI director, using the export licenses of trucking companies, American trucking companies. This is in the New York Times. Anyway, getting back to Michael Cohen. So, my segments are like all over the place and they're sprawling, but there's so much information that needs to be tied in with every piece of every fact regarding this insane conspiracy theory. So you can't just focus on one thing without remembering that it's linked to a whole bunch of other lies and a whole bunch of other inconvenient truths the Democratic Party doesn't want you to know. So here's a tweet. Michael Cohen, I'll put that below. Bad reporting, bad information, bad story. By the same reporter, Peter Stone, at McClatchy. Nothing against Peter Stone. He could be right, but Michael Cohen is denying it. No matter how many times or ways they write it, I have never been to Prague. I was in LA with my son. Proven. Now, you mean to tell me with the billions and billions and billions of dollars, you can't decipher whether somebody that was part of Trump's campaign, after Trump's campaign was being spied on forever, you can't say with certainty that somebody actually flew to a major city in Europe? What's the NSA's budget? It's just really quickly. The budget of the National Security Agency is classified by experts say it's at least $10 billion a year. Okay. Forget about the billions and billions for the CIA and FBI. The NSA takes $10 billion a year. $10 billion a year. This is a profanity alert from my 22-minute crowd. $10 fucking billion a year to run the NSA. And the American government doesn't know if Michael Cohen flew to Prague? There's no record of that. There's no record of that. So BuzzFeed and other publications are like, well, he could have gone, oh my God. And McClatchy's like, oh, sources say he actually went. And the Mueller probe doesn't know. After a year of investigating, what do they know? They don't know anything. The only thing they got a Dutch lawyer. That Russian hackers turned into a Dutch lawyer. Rick Gates and Manafort are indicted on things that have nothing to do with Trump. Actually tied directly to Tony Podesta. They paid Tony Podesta through the offshore accounts because they all worked on the same pro-Russian Ukrainian firm, the Center for a Modern Ukraine, European Center for a Modern Ukraine. Then you have General Michael Flynn, who didn't do anything wrong. Spoke to Sergei Kislyak, and the Democrats were like brilliant in this, and like evil brilliance. They said, "Oh my God, you spoke to the Russian ambassador. You could have done something wrong." This was before we knew the Steele Dossier was complete and utter nonsense. James Comey should have been fired. He completely covered up the Clinton email investigation for Hillary, and then would have continued his path down the ridiculous Steele Dossier, which apparently now Mueller is doing. But let's get to this. Trump lawyer Cohen sues Fusion GPS BuzzFeed over Steele Dossier. So he's suing BuzzFeed in a lawsuit. So Michael Cohen, longtime attorney for President Donald Trump, filed defamation lawsuits Tuesday against research firm Fusion GPS and BuzzFeed. If you're Michael Cohen, you don't have to prove that you weren't in Prague. It's actually, you can, but it's BuzzFeed's job to prove that Michael Cohen was in Prague because they published the information. They cannot prove he was in Prague because they do not have evidence. Nobody has evidence he ever stepped foot in Prague, and he was saying he never stepped foot in Prague. The NSA has no evidence. The DNC will not give BuzzFeed any evidence. BuzzFeed has no evidence. The Democratic Party operatives or pundits or loyal brainwashed cult members who are saying that he could have been are not saying that he was because they have no proof. That is called a conspiracy theory. You are trying to connect dots without any evidence of connecting, without any money trail or evidence or anything. With Clinton, there's a money trail, there's a foundation, there's a quid pro quo transaction, a beneficial outcome takes place. Bill Clinton actually met with Vladimir Putin in 2010 outside his house in Moscow. Bill Clinton met with Loretta Lynch. There's a million there's text messages talking about an insurance policy. We can't take the risk of Trump winning. Peter Strzok and Lisa Page regarding their meeting with Andrew McCabe. That's called evidence. Wondering if Michael Cohen took a trip, Trump's lawyer, is not evidence. And furthermore, they're so giddy now that apparently he could be under criminal investigation, but he was never accused of a crime. Paying Stormy Daniels is not a crime, and they haven't even linked it to federal election laws. And if they do, what about the $9 million funneled through the Clinton law firm to pay for the Steele Dossier with to pay Fusion GPS and Orbis, Christopher Steele's company and Glenn Simpson's company? And it wasn't just Clinton's campaign. It wasn't just Clinton. It was the DNC, the same DNC that was supposed to be neutral. But here we have the extent of... So here's a BuzzFeed article. Where's the BuzzFeed article? Well, before I get to that, because they're like, well, he could have gone, and you know what? He doesn't have a stamp in his passport, but you know what? He was in Europe around that time frame, and it's possible he could have gone. They don't have any evidence. They don't even have a credit card receipt. So you're saying that he only used cash? Then find out, around that time period, he took out, tens of thousands of dollars in cash to pay for the airline ticket in cash, to pay for food, hotel, whatever, taxi, all in cash when he met to speak with these invisible Russian operatives. Clinton, Mr. Fixer, ally Sidney Blumenthal emerge on list of Russia collusion figures. This is the Washington Times. So not only do you have Clinton and the DNC purchasing the Steele Dossier, you have two 90s-era, very shadowy Clinton operatives. It would be the equivalent of Sean Hannity or Newt Gingrich writing a dossier, and then Hillary getting indicted based on the dossier, or getting investigated based on the dossier. You don't need... That's what thing. Like, Clinton will get indicted. That's the writing's on the wall regarding that. Andrew... It's unbelievable, too, because they're trying to... Even one of Clinton's longtime lawyers, hilarious, they're trying to paint Andrew McCabe and James Comey as the bad guys now, when Andrew McCabe and James Comey are part of a cover-up to help Clinton, which is hilarious. It's completely and utterly hilarious. But a shadowy figure tied to the Clintons has suddenly emerged in the Trump-Russia collusion saga. His name is Cody Shearer, dubbed Mr. Fixer for Bill and Hillary Clinton, and a workmate of fierce Clinton defender Sidney Blumenthal. Last week, his name surfaced in a letter to the Democratic National Committee from Senator Charles E. Grassley, Iowa Republican and chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and Lindsey Graham, South Carolina Republican. The letter listed nearly 40 names and entities. The two senators asked the DNC to disclose any communication with them from March 2016 to January 2017. The list included the well-known Russia collusion figures Fusion GPS, Christopher Steele. Okay. Two of the letters' names have not appeared previously, Mr. Blumenthal and Mr. Shearer. Congressional representatives did not comment on the sudden revelation. Fusion has said it paid Mr. Steele $160,000 with money from the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC to write a dossier it hoped would destroy the Trump campaign. But several days after the Grassley-Graham letter was released, The Guardian published an article that said Mr. Shearer wrote his own Russia dossier on Mr. Trump. It said Mr. Steele handed it to the FBI in October of 2016. What is Christopher Steele, the guy who wrote the Steele dossier? What is Christopher Steele doing handing the FBI a dossier from Cody Shearer? This is not a conspiracy theory. These are actually people conspiring. Big difference. We know that the FBI got a dossier from Cody Shearer because he was part of the names referenced to Chuck Grassley and to Lindsey Graham. At that time, Mr. Steele was trying to persuade the FBI to investigate Mr. Trump. Well, the narrative is stupid. We already know that John Brennan met with Harry Reid to discuss this, Russia's collusion. Why didn't Brennan go to speak to Obama? And why didn't the U.S. intelligence community do its research and investigation on its own? Why did they need to go ahead and tie in or purchase or utilize a former MI6 agent who compiled the dossier that was purchased by Clinton? It wouldn't work the other way around. You think with Trump, it's like, oh my God, he wanted dirt from a Russian lawyer on Trump. So it's okay for Clinton to want dirt on Trump, but not only that, it's okay for Clinton to essentially purchase a FISA warrant. It's okay for the same person who compiled the Steele dossier to give the FBI a dossier from Cody Shearer. If the Guardian report is accurate, it means the FBI has been working off of 2 Democratic Party anti-Trump papers on Mr. Trump. This is insane. So it's not just the Steele dossier. It's the Shearer dossier also. And then they raided Sidney Blumenthal's office, and the attorney-client privilege is now dead because of the Steele dossier, almost certainly. Former FBI Director James B. Comey called it salacious and unverified. Well, if James Comey called it unverified, why did he show it to President-elect Trump along with President Obama? The Guardian wrote, unlike Steele, Shearer does not have a background in espionage, and his memo was initially viewed with skepticism. But we know that the FBI doesn't really care, especially under Comey and McCabe. It was completely and utterly not just biased, it was an absolute conspiracy to help Clinton. They did 2 things at once. They covered up the email investigation and said she didn't intentionally pay Brian Pagliano $5,000 to rewire existing infrastructure. It wasn't unintentional. There was intent there. But even if it was unintentional, gross negligence, U.S. Code 793F, is enough to indict Clinton. But now you have Sidney Blumenthal and Cody Shearer part of this. So then you have Blumenthal, and it goes on to talk about how Blumenthal was a part of it as well. But let's just go really quickly. Last thing is, I've already explained to you not only the actors involved in this and their obvious motives, and the fact that the only reason that Mueller could use to link Michael Cohen, Trump's lawyer, to the Russia nonsense is the Steele dossier, which is completely debunked. Now they're going, let's just use Vox. Okay, so this is why, no offense to the author at Vox, no offense to Vox, whatever. No, definitely no offense to the author. Vox, I don't really consider a great publication, but why the question of whether Michael Cohen visited Prague is massively important for Donald Trump. The Steele dossier claimed Cohen went to Prague to meet Russians. He said for more than a year that he didn't. That should be the end of the story. You cannot accuse somebody of actually going to a major city in Europe without any evidence, and then being suspicious when you cannot produce the evidence. Did Trump lawyer Michael Cohen secretly visit Prague to meet with Russians in 2016? The future of Donald Trump's presidency could hinge on whether the answer to that question is yes. Not really. The future of Trump's presidency is fine. He's going to win in 2020 again, because Democrats are focusing on something stupid. Democratic voters don't care about this. The loyal, hardcore Democrats, yes, they do. But the people that Democrats need to win, not just in Congress, but also in terms of a national election, the swing state voters, independents, okay, simply winning the popular vote because you got a lot more people in California and you outspent Trump 2-1 is not going to win Democrats the election in 2020. I stated Clinton would lose in 2016 on this YouTube channel, on The Hill, The Huffington Post, and Salon, and other publications. I'm telling you again, Trump is going to win in 2020, even though I'm opposed 100% to what he did yesterday in Syria. But Clinton wanted a no-fly zone. So that's the brain of Madam Secretary. That's because the claim has... Yet a new report from McClatchy's Peter Stone and Greg Gordon claims that Special Counsel Robert Mueller has evidence that Cohen did, in fact, enter Prague through Germany at the height of the 2016 campaign, in August or early September. Actually, no. A new report doesn't claim that. Sources, an unnamed source, claims that. It was an article, it's not a report. So we can go to McClatchy again. It's unclear, within the actual McClatchy article, it's unclear whether Mueller's investigators have evidence that Cohen actually met with a prominent Russian. So, at best, he possibly went to Prague, but then they have to prove that he met with somebody. So, he didn't go to Prague, but even if he went to Prague, they have to prove that he met with these Russian operatives. But Vox won't do this type of article. They won't write this type of article, publish this type of article with the 85, when it's 85 donors who gave $156 million to the Clinton Foundation, when the Clinton Foundation has a litany of that type of transaction, that type of overt criminal transaction where money flows in and then some kind of favorable outcome takes place, they say that, oh my God, it's okay. It's okay because she met with a whole lot of other people. So it's not a big deal. There's no suspicion there. That's the point. Yet the new report, so McClatchy is based on an anonymous source. Okay, so Cohen himself reiterated it again Saturday morning. I've never been to Prague. Okay, so bad reporting, bad information, bad story by the same reporter, Peter Stone, McClatchy. Okay, so no matter how many times they write it, I've never been to Prague. That's all that needs to be done. You have to prove that he went to Prague. You can't speculate. You can't imagine that he did. You can't say, oh my God, well, if he did, there goes the Trump campaign. These are all things that aren't tied to evidence. The speculation, the conjecture, the suspicion that's lacking with Clinton, where there's like a mountain of evidence. A mountain of evidence. Within the Podesta emails alone, there's enough to indict Clinton. If the Podesta emails in the UK, WikiLeaks has already been deemed not only a media organization, but the UK said that WikiLeaks emails were admissible in court. So there's 500 conflicts of interest within the Podesta emails that actually it was a Clinton Foundation official that wrote that. But if the McClatchy report was accurate, it would utterly devastate one of the Trump team's leading arguments that there was no Trump-Russia collusion. First of all, there was Clinton-Russia collusion. We know that because everybody from Sidney Blumenthal to Cody Shearer to Glenn Simpson to Christopher Steele to Bruce Orr, Nellie Orr, all these people were involved. And to the law firm, to Clinton paying for the Steele Dossier, all these people were involved and tied to the Russian sources that gave Christopher Steele all the ridiculous nonsense he put in the dossier. Just because the buffer is a law firm or Fusion GPS or Christopher Steele doesn't mean that there wasn't collusion. That's because, to be blunt, there's no reason for Cohen to try to debunk the Steele dossier by lying and saying that he didn't visit Prague at all, if he actually did, unless he was trying to cover up extremely serious wrongdoing that happened during that visit. I just wish Vox would use the same suspicion when it comes to Hillary Clinton deleting yoga emails. Hillary Clinton deleted yoga emails. Loretta Lynch spoke about golf. Do you realize Loretta Lynch spoke about golf with Bill Clinton? And Vox and everybody else is okay with that? Suspicion is dead when it comes to the Democratic Party or Clinton scandals. There's no suspicion at all. You have to take things at face value. With evidence of massive, massive cover-ups and conspiracies. Not theories, an actual conspiracy. We can't take the risk of Trump being elected. That's an actual text message. What the Steele Dossier alleged about Michael Cohen. So, okay, he met with, he did something really bad. So he met with these Russian sources. Oh, my God. And because of that, that helped the facilitate, who really knows it, met with Russian sources, and oh my God, it was this big conspiracy because, you know what, the Kremlin really wanted Trump, even though look what Trump did the other day, which completely throws a wrench in the whole insanity. Democrats are like, oh no, what do we do now? It's like almost they've gone into a bunker mentality now where they're doubling down on their conspiracy theories that nobody gives a crap about. But Cohen immediately tried to use the Prague visit, claimed to debunk the dossier. On January 10, 2017, 10 days before Donald Trump's inauguration, CNN reported that Trump had been briefed on the claims of the Steele Dossier, and BuzzFeed News subsequently published the dossier itself. Okay. Some time went by without any comment from Trump's team on the shocking allegations. And then Michael Cohen spoke up. I've never been to Prague in my life. Fake news. Okay. Immediately, many observed it was strange that Cohen attempted to debunk the dossier by tweeting a picture of the cover of his passport rather than its interior. Well, he didn't really need to show the interior because he's kind of alluding to the fact that, hey, within the passport, there's nothing there. So it's when someone is suspicious of you and accuses you of something you've never done, you don't have to go bend over backwards to prove your innocence. It could be some crazy person on the street that says, hey, you know what? You stole the Queen's crown jewels. You don't need to then prove to that crazy person that you didn't do that. The crazy people in this case are Democrats and the media around them. Michael Cohen didn't have to go bend over backwards to prove anything to anybody. When he's suing BuzzFeed, which BuzzFeed is suing the DNC because they have no evidence, it's BuzzFeed that has to go ahead and cough up the evidence. That's called libel if they don't. Additionally, since Prague is in Europe's European Union Schengen area, which allows passport-free travel between countries, he could theoretically have gotten an initial entry stamp from any EU country, not the Czech Republic. Oh, well, he could theoretically have done that. Well, could he theoretically have used a credit card throughout his trip? I mean, what is it? Everything's theoretical. Yeah, and what about Clinton? Clinton transferred classified emails to Anthony. This is a profanity alert for my almost 40-minute crowd. No, my 43-minute crowd. Do not listen if you don't want to hear profanity. Anthony Weiner had pictures of his dick on a laptop that stored United States classified intelligence that emanated from a server outside the United States government. Within that server stored top secret and special access program intelligence, information that's born classified that should never be outside the U.S. government. But it was outside the U.S. government on a server while Hillary Clinton met with Chinese and Russian officials the first 3 months of her tenure as Secretary of State, as she was using an AT&T email account. And Vox and everybody else doesn't care. BuzzFeed doesn't care. They're okay with that. There's no suspicion. But theoretically, he could have traveled through Germany into the Czech Republic and not gotten the stamp. So the fact that there's no evidence on his passport is now twisted and manipulated into some kind of evidence. Suspicion surrounding Trump is viewed with the same, in the same way one would ordinarily view evidence. Or actually, suspicion regarding Trump is viewed by liberals and Democrats in the same manner that evidence surrounding Clinton's actual criminal acts are viewed by people, progressives, conservatives, independents, who believe that Clinton should be indicted. I'll repeat that again. Suspicion, just the mere suspicion regarding Trump. Allegations, conjecture, hearsay, gossip, hyperbole. That's viewed as evidence. Confidence levels are viewed as evidence. Whereas the actual money trail, the actual example of crimes is, well, she didn't intentionally do it, Clinton. Oh, well, you can't prove that the 85 donors who gave $156 million did so because it wasn't altruistic reasons. Or you can't prove that the Saudi princes and Trump and Boeing and UBS and everybody else who have completely different value systems funneled money into the Clinton Foundation, including Frank Truster, including all these people, Uranium One officials. You can't prove that they did so for a beneficial outcome. What? Rudy Giuliani stated there's just RICO laws, just in terms of bribery and racketeering, the laws that exist in the book, the public record is enough to indict Clinton. You don't even need to have spied on her since 2015. GCHQ spied on Trump since 2015. The NSA, the CIA, the FBI spied on Trump all throughout the election. And they found nothing. And now we're still talking about this in April 14, 2018. And now it's, oh my God, Michael Cohen might have visited Prague. Whereas you have the freaking mountain of evidence of Clinton's crimes. Give me your thoughts below. Share this segment everywhere. If you lasted this long, 47 minutes, it's unbelievable what people will convince themselves of. They look at the left looks at they'll look at the right and say, oh my God, conspiracy theories. But then they'll focus on conspiracy theories while simply appealing to authority, the confidence or assessment of authority without any hard evidence. And they'll say, well, look at Alex Jones. He's saying things without any evidence. But they'll say, well, the NSA is moderately confident, and they wouldn't lie to us. Even though James Clapper lied under oath. And John Brennan lied under oath. And James Comey, gave the most absurd examples. Oh, well, Bob and Mary, if they had their own private server, there would be disciplinary action. No, they'd be in jail. Give me your thoughts below. Share this segment everywhere. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hit subscribe right now. This is a really, really important segment. And I know that's my style. I usually go all over the place and ramble on and on. But you can't just look at this insanity from the perspective of, focus on one point at a time. There's all these points connect and link to Cody Shearer, Sidney Blumenthal, Fusion GPS, Bruce Nellie Orr, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page. There are people within this entire facade, and there's evidence linked to those people that show, and there's not a money trail, Clinton, her law firm, Fusion GPS, Orbis, Steele Dossier, and they very likely paid Russian sources. All of this points to a completely fabricated narrative. Whereas, like I said, the evidence of Clinton's wrongdoing it's obvious. Share this segment everywhere. Give me your thoughts below. I have the best comment section on YouTube. I have the absolute best comment section on YouTube. And I want you to give me your thoughts regarding this whole Michael Cohen situation, and give me your thoughts on everything regarding Trump. I'm 100% opposed, by the way, to what Trump did. He got essentially bullied into it. A couple weeks before, he was saying he was going to bring soldiers out. We don't even know what took place there. Anyway, I can go on forever about that. Give me your thoughts below. Share this segment everywhere. Subscribe to this YouTube channel right now. Thank you so much.